Hey, this is Jason Morris with Real Estate Agents That Really Work, and today I'm on this call with Bryan Casella. Bryan Casella is known as the door knocking master from you're in the Inland Empire in California, right?
I'm at the border of the Los Angeles and Orange County, and I'm pretty much close to the Inland Empire too, so I'm right smack in the middle.
Man, so you're in a pretty expensive market, aren't you?
Yeah, I would say right now the average price point where I live is at least in the 500 or 600s. Yeah.
Wow. So man, what I know, I know who you are because I've already stalked you out for this call, but I know who you were before then, and I've heard you on some interviews and stuff. You want to tell people a little bit about you, the ones that might not know who Bryan Casella is?
Sure. Yeah. Bryan Casella, Southern California. I just turned 30 this year. I've been in the business 3 years now, and what I did when I got into the business was pretty simple. I bought into the Mike Ferry system and said, all right, I know I'm going to have to do a lot of work, and I'm willing to do
Dude, I was
it.
the same way.
Yeah.
I got introduced really early to Mike Ferry.
Yeah, and I said, okay, a lot of people call and door knock. I'm going to do both, and I'm going to focus a little bit more on door knocking because I know it's a little bit more fun than sitting in front of a computer and making calls. And I knew through door knocking I could brand myself and really just be a little bit different. I noticed where I had lived in the area that I'm selling, I don't remember ever a realtor knocking on my door or my parents' door before. So I said, I'm going to run with it. And I did it. I started documenting it on YouTube. I got very good at it. And, here we are today. We're selling a lot of houses. I'm making good money. And door knocking is pretty much the platform that set the foundation for me to grow my business to where it's at today.
Man, so how many units will you close this year?
This year, I think, now that I have a few agents with me, we're going to close, I think, in the low 40s this year. It'll be 40 or 41.
That's a lot of business in that price point. That's a lot of business.
Yeah, and it's
especially
grown. But at the end of the day, just like when you started, we knew it would get to this point because the hard work always pays off.
Yeah, man. So how many people do you have total on your team?
I have 2 agents now on my team, an admin and a transaction coordinator.
Wow. So in your average price points in the $500,000 to $600,000 range?
Yeah, this year, I would say it's definitely at least in the low fives. I would say probably 510, 520,000 at the minimum.
Wow, that's amazing, man. So what would you say, the breakdown of those 40 transactions? What would you say the breakdown of that business is between, say, door knocking, cold calling, and then just marketing in your sphere of influence? How much would you say is coming directly from door knocking?
Directly from door knocking, I would say probably around 25% of it.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's something you said this a second ago. Nobody door knocks, man. Nobody. I ran for a little public office. This was a year ago. And it was a special election, and man, I door knocked on 4,000 doors. And then I'd done this over the course of 3 weeks, and then I had volunteers and stuff. And one thing that I was just really, really amazed at is the number of people. Well, number one, the number of people that I actually never knew who they were and knew nothing about them, and they actually came out and voted for me. Nobody ever knocked on the door of a candidate or anything. And then after the election, I was shocked, just doing real estate. I've been here doing real estate for 12 or 13 years. I was shocked how many people in the Myrtle Beach area actually knew who I was after that.
Wow.
And it was quite unbelievable. It was different than making calls on the phone. But the other 75% of your business, where would you say that's coming from?
It's all a healthy mix of either, cold calling, expireds, a couple FISBOs, and sphere of influence. It's a pretty healthy mix. I would say each category probably adds another, 15 to 20%. So I have a pretty healthy mix overall of business.
Yeah, that's pretty good. How many sellers versus buyers? Are you seller heavy?
Yeah, we're seller heavy. We're probably 85% seller, 15% buyer.
Now, with your team, do you have a designated person that works with buyers, or just whoever gets the buyer lead works with them?
Loida, she works with most of our buyers, but it's beginning to shift to the newer guy. I want Loida to become more of an assistant on the listing side, and I want to turn her into a listing agent versus just exclusively working with buyers.
That's pretty interesting. So, So when you're knocking on these doors, do you have certain doors you target, or you just go to a neighborhood, park your car, and say, "Hey, we're going to get them all"?
It's a great question. I do, of course, always hit the FSBOs and expireds first, but I would say the majority of the contacts would be what is considered random. There's not enough new expires and FSBOs to really just build my business on that. And at the same time, like I mentioned earlier, I wanted to really brand myself in a lot of cities, and I have. I go to the gym now, I go to public places, and people recognize me because of my door knocking efforts, my car, and everything else. And it's pretty funny, just like you had mentioned with your election, how you get recognized from doing it, and people see you face to face, they shake your hand, they get to know you, and it's incredible the power that has as far as a brand and marketing yourself.
For a little while there, I almost hated to go like to dinner or anything in Myrtle Beach, because it was like I would be sitting there and somebody would walk up to me like, "Hey, Jason," and I would be looking at him like, I have no clue who you are. It was the oddest thing. Like, I didn't think people really paid attention, but
right.
Man, and you know what? I don't. What kind of experience do you have, like, with people when you knock on the door? Is anybody ever mean to you, or does anybody ever throw you off their steps?
Yeah, I've had all ends of the spectrum. I would say overall, 95% of the time or more, it's great interactions. A lot of things that I teach in the products that I sell in my coaching programs is, look, you need to check in with yourself, because when you show up on somebody's doorstep, number one, you don't know what's going on behind that door, but secondly, people are going to go off your vibe. If you have a great vibe, very relaxed vibe, you're smiling, you're going to tend to get good results at the door, or at the very least, a pleasant conversation with a person. Now, if you show up nervous, tense, scared, apprehensive, people are going to react to that, and they're not going to want to talk to you. So I tell people it starts with you. If you go out there and you're coming from a point of contribution, you feel good, you're delivering value, most of your interactions are going to be good. And I would say 80-90% of my conversations, I pretty much get through my whole script, or at the very least, the majority of it. So my interactions overall are good. So when people come to me and tell me, "Hey, like, what are you doing?" because a lot of people are mean, I'm like, you need to look at yourself in the mirror, because if people are being mean to you, there's a reason.
You know what? I tell people that about phone calls all the time. I don't door knock, and I don't know why I don't door knock. A lot of it's time for me, but a time issue, not really a laziness issue. But I don't door knock just because lots of times I just don't have time, and it's never been a big part of my business. But when I was knocking on doors campaigning, and I've been involved in several other elections, and I've done the same thing, and nobody's ever really mean to me. Every now and then you got somebody that's a little apprehensive, and let me ask you, this was a situation I had. I mean, it's probably one for every 500 doors I knocked on. As I'm walking up the door, I hear like a husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend screaming at each other on the other side of the door. Um, what do you do in that situation?
I would probably not even knock on the door. If I heard that, I would probably just come back later or another day. I do see, sometimes I've door knocked somebody, and right before I knock, I look through the window and I see somebody either doing drugs or something weird. So if that happens, I usually just turn around and go on to the next door, because you don't know what you're getting yourself into. And in those moments,
of course,
people are doing something else. Emotions are high. So if I come in there as a real estate agent, they're not going to want to talk to me.
Yeah, safety's first for sure, man. So what about like dogs and things like that in the neighborhood? You ever have situations with them?
Yeah, I mean, I have had. I mean, I'll break it down for you. I've gotten chased by dogs. I've gotten jumped on by dogs. Haven't been bitten yet. I've had one time I had a gun pulled on me. I've had people flash weapons at me that were upset. I mean, I've had anything and everything you could imagine that happens at the door. I've had from people who immediately open the door and invite me in and want to tell me their life story, and I had people who curse at me and tell me to get off their property. So I've seen it all. But what keeps me focused is I know I'm there for a reason. There's people out there that want to buy and sell. There's people that need my help. And that's what I'm looking for. I just chalk it up as experience, because in the process of door knocking and calling, and you've learned this because you've been in the business a while, it molds you into a better and stronger person. It takes a certain kind of individual to do this day in and day out, and the skill set that you acquire really helps you live a much better life.
Oh yeah, man. My skin is so thick. People can tell me whatever they want to tell me. I don't even care. I mean, it just don't really even bother me. I guess it's a lot of it's mindset too, I believe. You know, it helps you build your mindset. Once you start having those little successes, it just keeps getting stronger and stronger. So, what's the craziest situation you ever had with knocking on somebody's door?
I would say the craziest would be the person who pulled out a gun on me. I knocked on the door, I stepped back, and they slowly opened the door. Like 10 or 15 seconds later, they just stared at me and didn't say anything. And I said, hey, my name is Bryan. I'm a local real estate agent. I'll be very brief with you. And they just lifted their shirt and pulled out their gun. And I was like, they're like, get out of here. I was like, hey.
Man, so what do you do? You know, like when you're going and knocking on doors, or for agents out there, they're thinking, hey, I want to start door knocking. What do you do for safety? Do you have a partner? What do you do to make sure you're safe? Do you carry mace with you?
Well, I think it depends who's knocking. I'm a pretty big dude. I'm a trained boxer. I've done a lot of martial arts in the past, so I know I can protect myself. So I would say if you're a man, at the very least, let somebody know where you're going to be at. Like, for example, if Loida, who is my girlfriend too, goes out, I make her tell me, okay, what time are you starting, what time are you ending, and what neighborhood are you going to be in? That way we have a way of tracking. Now, if you're a woman who maybe is a little bit more petite and smaller, number one, I recommend you go with somebody. But number two, at the very least, if you're not going to be going with somebody, take some mace with you, some pepper spray, something to ward off a dog or somebody who might come after you. Because, again, like you said earlier, safety first. You never know who's out there. And when you knock on a door, you don't know who's behind the door. So if you're a woman as well, if somebody invites you in the house, I would highly recommend you say no. If you're a man, that's up to you, but I would highly recommend if you're a woman that if somebody invites you in, you say no every single time.
Yeah, and probably don't knock on doors that door knock in neighborhoods you're not comfortable in.
That as well, yeah. I always tell people that. I wouldn't, if an area is, gang affiliated, maybe stay away from that area. There's a lot of precautions you can take. I focus on more of a middle price point to higher price point, so for the most part I don't have to worry about that, but there's definitely a lot of things to take note of before you get out there and you hit some doors.
Yeah, the area that I was campaigning in, a lot of the voters, it was a little bit lower end area, had you pull up the crime map online and it looked scary as hell. That's the area that I was door knocking in here in Myrtle Beach, and I mean, it's right downtown Myrtle Beach. It's the older houses, the older sections and neighborhoods and stuff. And, man, unbelievably, I mean, overall everybody was really nice. But sometimes I'm so thick-skinned, and sometimes my outlook on things is so good. I probably had people being mean to me or smart-ass to me, and I didn't even realize it. I said, oh, thanks, guys. Have a great day. Get to the next door, So how many doors do you think you have to knock on to get, like, one solid lead? Or how many are you having to knock on to get one solid lead?
I would say if we're doing random doors, just completely random in the cities that we're knocking, I would say it's safe to say every hour or hour and change, you're going to get one person who is going to do something now or in the near future. That's kind of what we averaged it out to every hour. So basically every 10 to a dozen contacts, you're going to get somebody who might not be ready today, but very soon will be doing something.
Yeah. So how many doors can you knock on in an hour, you'd say?
Depending on the neighborhood, anywhere from 20 to 30 or more. I would say I averaged 100 doors knocked in just under 3 hours. It was like 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 40 minutes or something like that.
That's not bad. That's not bad. You're actually walking up to the door, knocking on the door. If they're not home, are you leaving a flyer or a door hanger or something?
Yeah, we keep it simple. We'll leave a business card, a personal business card or a team business card. Or if we're door knocking, promoting a listing that we either just sold or just listed, we'll leave a flyer. So it's either a flyer or a business card. We try to keep it very simple.
Yeah. And well, man, it sounds like, I know from watching you here in other interviews, you've kind of got your business together, and you've got a solid idea of what you need to do. So this year you're going to close around 40, 41 transactions. What's your plan for 2007? Are you what's your goal for 2017? I'm sorry, not 2007, 2017.
All right, I heard you there. 2017, we're keeping it simple. Our goal is to get it up to 60 transactions, and at the very minimum, because I'm shifting from doing things myself, like we all learn in Mike Ferry, I'm really pushing to grow my team and eventually following, the millionaire real estate agent model that Keller Williams teaches us. And I want to add 2 more agents next year minimum, and I would like to get to 60 units. Now, the long picture goal, I guess you can say, in 3 to 5 years would be for me to actually pretty much step out of it and be step 7 on the millionaire real estate agent model. I just need to finish with my vision there and make it crystal clear.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So you're going to add 2 more agents, and that's going to get you to to this goal because you're trying to increase your business by 50%. What does it look like? Like, what's the structure for hiring these agents? Like, what are they doing? What kind of commission splits are they on? And what are you responsible for giving them?
Cool. Now that I've joined Keller Williams, it's made it a lot simpler for me. But let's say, just to keep it simple, let's say I add an agent. If I add somebody who's a buyer's agent, basically they go through a training with me for about a week. It takes a couple days to get them familiar with all the systems that we use. Even if I hire somebody who's just a buyer's agent, I do expect a minimum of 2 to 3 hours of prospecting every day. They handle all the sign calls, all the internet inquiries we get from listings that we do have. And as far as commission split, if somebody brings in their own lead, I let them keep 75%. And I keep 25%, and if it's a team lead, like let's say they get a buyer's lead off one of my listings, or I bring in the buyer lead directly and I give it to them, then we split it down the middle 50-50.
Now the 50-50 split, is that 50-50 of 100% of the commission? Just to make math easy, let's say a $100,000 transaction, or let's say $1,000 commission. We'll make it really easy. So there's $1,000 commission. Total. That 50-50 split, is it on the gross $1,000 commission, or is it after Keller Williams gets their cut?
It's on the gross.
Just in the gross. So they're walking away with 50% in their pocket, and you're putting your team basically is making the difference between 50% and whatever your split is with Keller Williams.
Right. Correct.
That's pretty awesome. So the 75%, if they keep 75%, how does that work? Or are you on a plan with Keller Williams where you're getting more than the 75%?
Yeah, that's basically what I'm at. The Keller Williams I'm at was flexible enough to give me that because I want to give my agents also an incentive to do stuff on their own. And obviously, if they're making more generating on their own, then they're going to go that route. And I have a separate agreement, too, that after 5 transactions, the 50-50 will turn into a 70-30. So I just want to give people growth opportunities. And luckily, the Keller Williams that I joined was flexible enough to let me manipulate the numbers a little bit for my team.
Yeah. I'm at eXp Realty. We have that same similar team set up, but a lot of the smaller, well, actually a lot of the older franchises, they don't have that model. And that was something with Mike Ferry where I hit a point with coaching where it was kind of like I wanted to add team members and I wanted to do different things in the business. And with the Mike Ferry coaching system, they don't really coach you on, hey, how to hire another listing agent, how to hire another agent to do this or do that.
Right.
So how important would you say their schedule is? What does your typical schedule look like, and what's your team members' typical schedule look like?
Great question. Schedule, I believe, is the foundation for any business, and we keep ours simple. I have everybody in the office by 7:30 at the latest. Most people show up anywhere from 7 to 7:15, 7:30 to 8. They're either role-playing with me or with each other or designated role-play partners that we have on rotation 5 times a week, Monday through Friday. 8 to 12, I have everybody prospect and do their lead follow-up. 12 to 1, I let everybody go for lunch, have a break, et cetera, et cetera. 1 to about 2:30 or 3, they're either doing in-office training at the Keller Williams or a separate training with me, whether that's contracts, more role play, listing presentations, et cetera, et cetera. Most of our appointments are held between 4 to 6, and if we have no appointments for that person or myself, then we just do more prospecting, and we hang it up at 6 p.m.
Man, so you guys are, and you're actually having your team actually comes to the office and meets you.
Yeah.
And you guys basically all sit, you guys actually have cubicles or offices right in the same area, and you're feeding off each other, listening to each other, and all that stuff.
Yeah, and now, actually, that I joined the Keller Williams, they're expanding the office, so I'm pretty excited because we're going to get a big space in the new building, so that's definitely going to be great.
Man, so with their prospecting, they're actually door knocking, then they're making calls to expireds, for sale by owners, things like that also?
Yeah, anything and everything. Door knocking, calls, random calls, absentee owners, expired FSBOs. I train them for everything because the way I see it is I want to give them the opportunity to get everything. I don't want people to feel limited in their roles because that's one thing that I made the decision of is when I hire somebody, I would rather pick very quality members as opposed to just getting people quickly and then having a high rate of turnover. My goal is for every person I hire to keep them forever or as long as possible. So I'm very particular about who I hire, and then I want to give them the opportunity to make more money, grow, and expand. That way my team grows more organically, and I don't have a high turnover rate.
Man, so let's see, we talked about your schedule. You know, in 2017, I feel like this time of the year we got 60 days left of the year, and I feel like 2016 for most of us at this point, you're either going to hit your goal or you're not going to hit your goal. You know, but you've got 60 days. You can still finish the year strong. But a lot of what we're doing and what I'm doing in my business is 2016, I'm really working really hard. I'm going out there getting as many listings as possible, and I'm setting myself up for 2017. So I got a few questions I want to ask you about 2017 and just what your view is and what do you think is going to happen. In 2017, do you think review websites like Zillow, Yelp, and things like that, how important do you think that's going to be for agents and their businesses and businesses like yours?
You know, that's a good question. I think it is important. However, I feel like most people that push it and exaggerate its importance are a little bit going a little bit overboard, if that makes sense. Every client that I've sat with, I would say over 90%, they're not grilling me on my reviews and they're not doing extensive research beforehand. Maybe that will change. I just think if you have a system that you follow and you make that very apparent to the person you're going to meet with, you meet with the client, they know you're professional, they know you have a system, you come off as polished, I think that in itself speaks volumes more than a review. The one thing I focus on that I tell people to get are video reviews, like testimonials. I have made it a pillar in my business that every person we do business with, we get a video testimonial. So beforehand, I send somebody a snapshot of my reviews on Zillow, and I welcome them to go there, and very few do. However, I make it a point to tell people, watch the video testimonials we send you in the email. And I'm in the process actually of putting it on a portion of my website so somebody can just click, and I'm going to put 5, 6, 7 video testimonials there for expireds, FSBOs, you know, people that I door knocked. I think that is 10 times more powerful than any written review.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like the video testimonials and reviews and stuff. I haven't been real good at collecting reviews. I realized on Zillow that I only had one the other day, so I've been going back through and emailing people and messaging them through Facebook and going, hey, can you write a review for me? And a lot of it's just I realized I had one, and there's other agents in my market I feel like I'm competing against a lot. And these agents had like 50, so I feel like, hey, I got to compete. It's more about the reviews are for me, actually. They're not for the general public, you know. So how big of a deal do you think Facebook is going to be, like Facebook ads and Facebook marketing?
You know, it's an interesting question, and I noticed that there's tremendous power in social media. You know, I'm creating a brand and presence for myself solely on social media, and the reason I think that's very important is because we live in a day and age, Jason, and I'm sure you've seen this be very apparent, that everybody is becoming more and more reliant on technology. You know, everybody's on Facebook, everybody's on Instagram, everybody's on their phone, on the internet, using their phone. So even though the old school techniques that we do are still going to work and be very effective, I think because social media is 100% free, besides maybe boosting a post on Facebook ads, I think it's something that everybody must implement because it's only going to make you better. It doesn't require a lot of time. It's very simple because I'm not a technology guy, but I'm consistently pushing social media, Facebook ads, and that kind of thing because it's extra exposure and branding for you. If you're already great at prospecting and doing all these other methods, why not supplement it with social media? Social media builds your brand. I've had some people reach out to me via Facebook and YouTube, and it's incredible. By the time I meet with them, I don't have to do anything. They're sold. They're 100% sold on me and my services purely based on social media. It's incredible and almost unbelievable.
Wow. So you're actually putting content out there for the general public.
Yes, I created a small series of probably 6 or 7 videos on my YouTube, tips for sellers, tips for buyers. Put that on my website. It is available on YouTube, and I've gotten 2 listings from it. It's not much, but hey, it's 2 listings, and
it's another lead source.
Yeah, it was incredible. I got there, the people are like, what, we're sold. You know what you're doing. Where do we sign? And I was almost like in disbelief, like, wow, like I'm not starting to realize now the power of Facebook, YouTube, and all that, because I think we forget, and I don't know if you knew this, Jason, when somebody sees you on social media, that you have a following, or on YouTube and they watch you on video, you're automatically seen as an expert, and almost you're put on like a celebrity status because they feel that you being on YouTube and having a following or being on Facebook and have people watching you, that you're already an expert in your field and that you're almost like a celebrity. It's crazy. And I've actually asked people these questions and they say, yeah, I'm almost like in awe being with you because I watch you online. Like, how crazy is that?
I've got the same thing before, just from the videos I do. Like, the stuff that I'm doing is more geared towards real estate agents. It's not really geared towards the general public. And I get that same thing. Like, people think that I am like a big celebrity. It's kind of one part of it makes me go, man, I'm not that big of a deal. And then the other part, makes me go, man, this is really cool. So I've had a lot of great opportunities from it. And as far as with real estate agents, but with the stuff you've done for the general public, how long would you say it took you from doing those videos to getting those first calls or first leads off of it?
It took quite a long time. I would say it took 6 months to a year. Now, most of my content, I would say 90 to 95%, is geared towards a specific crowd and agents more than the general public. But the general public is still watching. I've been gauging it. I have people who are on my database that I haven't done business with yet, but I've added, and they tell me, oh, yeah, I keep up with your YouTube. I keep up with your social media. It's really good what you're doing. So,
so for a brand new agent out there, do you think this is an avenue for 2017 they need to be working on, putting out content, putting out information for the general public?
Absolutely, because even if you're new, like I was at one point, if you know your stuff, if you know your market stats, if you know the process, no one's going to care how many homes you sold. If you're an expert, they see that online, they meet with you, and you portray that and you embody that, you're going to get the business 100%.
Wow. So what do you think about, I know we talked about Facebook and YouTube, and I'm assuming you mean you're kind of adding podcast in there too. What do you think about blogging? I know there's a lot of talk and a lot of training stuff. At EXP, and I know at Keller Williams too, they have tons of training on blogging for business. What do you think about that? What do you think about its importance in 2017?
I don't do much blogging personally. If anything, I do the vlogging, which is the video blogging. I think it has a lot of power. Again, I just think, just like anything else, Jason, it comes down to what information are you giving, and are you doing it consistently? But most importantly, do people see value in what you're doing? I think some people start blogging or doing YouTube or Facebook, but they don't have the long vision in mind. Just because you make 1 or 2 blogs doesn't mean you're suddenly going to get a following and you're going to get business. Just like prospecting and anything else, it takes consistent action and you continuously doing it over and over and over to see the results. And that is the missing link I see with 99% of agents or people just in general with any endeavor, is they'll take something that works or that has potential, like blogging, they do it 1 or 2 times, they dabble, but they don't see it through. You need to see it through. Is it important? Is it relevant in 2017? Absolutely. However, it's only to the extent of the user doing it. If they push it, and they do it consistently, it will get results, absolutely.
I'll tell you this, man, in the interviews and stuff that I'm doing with agents and the content that I've been putting out there on YouTube, the last 30 days, I've been doing this for about 3, maybe 4 months. I get about 50 pieces of content on YouTube, but the last 30 days, I've got more views in the last 30 days than I got the first 3 months combined.
There you go.
And it's like just starting to get traction, and all of a sudden I got videos and interviews and stuff that the number of views just it's like they doubled and tripled and more even overnight. It's quite amazing. So most of my audience, they're agents that have, they just got into business. They're doing, 10 transactions or less a year. What advice would you give them as far as setting their goals in 2017, and what things do you think are the most important things they need to be working on right now?
Perfect. Number one, set big goals. I think that a lot of people, let's say when I was at 10 transactions, I wasn't afraid to set a goal to do 30 the next year. I think a lot of people are kind of scared to set bigger goals. Number one, that is a must. Number two, you need to set up as much accountability around you as possible. Tell your family, get your family involved with your goals. Tell your whole Facebook family that, hey, you know what, I want to do 30 deals next year. I want you guys to know, and I want you to hold me accountable. Set up as much accountability as possible, because the more eyes that are on you, the more likely you are to stick to it. Number three, stick to what works. Look at your business right now. Those 10 transactions, if 8 of those transactions are from sphere of influence, work your sphere of influence harder and then supplement with other things. Put your time and efforts into what's working and producing, and then scale that and make it bigger. If you're getting 8 out of the 10 from expired, start hitting new and old expired and put more time into it. Put a magnifying glass on your business. Whatever's working, push it even harder, and what's not, get rid of it and replace it with something else.
If they're already like pushing as hard as they can go, they're hitting a point where it's like, hey, I just can't do anymore. What should they do? What do you think they should do when they hit that point?
Get a coach and mentor to blaze the trail for you.
Cool. What should be their first hire? If they're at that point where they've already got a coach, they've got a mentor, they got somebody that's kind of helping guide them. What do you believe should be an agent's first hire?
Definitely a part-time assistant.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, Bryan, I really appreciate you doing this call with me today. Man, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, they want to look at your products, your door knocking mastery products, where can they go and how can they get in touch with you?
Best ways to get in touch with me is Facebook, Bryan Casella, BryanCasella. That is the quickest and easiest way to get in touch with me, or myname.com. BryanCasella.com is my website. I have coaching programs, products, services. If you want to send me a referral, all my information's there. My website or Facebook would absolutely be the best way to get a hold of me. I respond to every email I get, so send me a message, and I'd be happy to talk to you.
Man, that is really awesome, Bryan. Hey, I'm going to stop the recording right here, and I really appreciate you being on it with me today.
Jason, thanks for having me.